Welcome back to the Tech Factor podcast. We're really excited to have Hemant Adarkar on in our show. Hemant, thank you so much for doing this, despite that you had to go through the traffic in Bandra and be on the show. But
Yeah,
thank you
thanks,
so
Rupa.
much.
Thanks, Rupa. Thanks for having me.
So, Hemant, just for the audience to know, you've actually had a brilliant career. You've been a CTO, you've donned hats of an enterprise architect, you've been a technical advisor, you've been on board of multiple companies, you're an independent director. So many different things that you've done in your life. So, can I begin by introducing to our audience that you've actually been the first user of email in India? Can you talk about that a bit?
Yeah, I mean, in fact, arguably would be first. I mean, it would be very difficult to claim that because the techies who set it up would have used it first. But
Sure.
yes, that time I was not a techie. I mean, today I'm a techie. So there was, see, there was this education and research network of which TIFR was, where I did my PhD, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research.
Right.
And, I'm actually not trained in computer science, though I did a lot of software for banks and stock exchanges and brokers and insurance companies. But I am a trained nuclear physicist, and then I dabbled with a bit with astrophysics.
Mm-hmm.
After that, this WWW World Wide Web was actually invented in European Center for Nuclear Research,
Right.
which is French acronym called CERN, CERN.
Yes.
So it's there where the internet was actually invented, and it was connected. So we, being one of the groups in TIFR, was part of the CERN experiment. So we had naturally the connectivity with direct connectivity with CERN, and it was sort of connected to a computer where I happen to be the one of the few users, or the probably the only heavy user of that computer, called Wax VMS. People don't even remember, and that company has merged with various companies, and finally, I think it's merged with finally with Oracle.
Okay.
So several mergers.
Mm-hmm.
So called Wax VMS. It's called a digital system, and that's like it was very popular with nuclear physicists. So I happened to use that, and also we had no PCs and no mouse that time.
Right.
Yeah, so there was a browser called Lynx,
Mm-hmm.
which worked on the arrow keys.
Mm-hmm.
So up and down was you actually uh, went down the screen, and it was of course very verbose, not
Right.
no graphics, because these were quote unquote sort of mainframe computers. Like Wax was almost a mainframe computer, and therefore, and if you had to follow a link, which was a underlying text, you press the right arrow key,
Right.
right?
Wow. Huh?
Yeah, so that is that. And I think a lot of people must understand that, for example, one of the exciting things for today's people, those who are curious, they say, why this, when we don't find a web page, there's an
Yeah.
error 404 that appears, right?
Correct.
So actually, the first web server was kept in in the room number 404 in CERN in Geneva,
Okay.
and by mistake, somebody used to switch it off.
You switch off the
So
computer, you mean?
yeah, as you switch off the computer, and then people wouldn't access that server at all. So they would say that go check 404.
404.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So whether that computer is powered on,
Sure.
and so the error for not finding a web page was, standardized as error number
404.
404. And now
Wow.
it's of course used by a lot of people in management, that if a person, or typically the executive assistant, is not in her or his place, she's a he is a 404,
Interesting.
right?
Interesting.
So
Right.
yeah, that was a time. And of course, by 95, by the time India got internet through VSNL, I don't know, young people may not even know about this government organization, which again was taken over by Tata's.
Mm-hmm.
That then we could sort of, and Netscape Navigator was the first browser,
Correct.
and we could use proper graphics and the uh, mouse, etc. And also initially it was all static pages,
Mm.
so
Mm.
that's why it's called web page.
Okay.
The pages were not the sort of created on the fly, as which is sort of a commodity today.
Right.
And also the initial days, creating a session, like for example, today we browse, we do our all banking transactions on the net, so the banking servers remember you as a user. So
Correct.
Rupa logs into XYZ bank, then till she finishes, she logs off, she's her browser is recognized. But
Correct.
the technical aspects of HTTP are such that every request made by a browser to a server is independent of each other, and therefore initial days we had problems in creating sessions.
Oh,
So it was very interesting, the journey. So around 98, 99, these problems were sorted out.
wow. It's so simple today. And when you talk about it, it's fairly interesting. I want to take a cue on what you said, nuclear physicist who got into technology.
Yeah.
And you definitely, you're a veteran in the entire banking space, right? You did add a lot to banking spectrum from a technology and architecture standpoint. So how have you seen the entire BFSI, if I can call it BFSI domain, evolve? Would you happen to give us some bit from 1990s to now, how things have changed?
Yeah, in fact, if you just go back, if with your permission, I would just go back to 1970s.
Sure, sure, please.
Yeah, so 1970s, there was a attempt by RBI to introduce computers, and
Wow.
there was a resistance
Hmm.
from the employees. And just as today, artificial intelligence is looked upon as it'll create a lot of unemployment. Similarly, a lot of people thought about
Computers.
computers will create unemployment because it does mechanical jobs, right? That was the fear.
Correct.
And so it was called automatic logging machine rather than a computer. So
In
just to,
1970.
yeah, but
Okay.
very few banks used it. And it sort of, there are bankers who looked, would thought about the future even in the 90s. They said that people who think that computers will be used in banks, uh, in after 50 years, are standing on burning decks. This is something which I heard. I don't want to quote the person, but he turned out to be, rather prophetic. And
Okay.
in fact, 99, a friend of mine asked me to cover a few large Indian banks for CIO magazine. Look,
Hmm.
write about their IT infrastructure, and you'll be surprised that one of the top public sector banks did not even have a core banking solution, a centralized banking solution.
Oh,
And
Lord.
in fact, all the branches were not networked.
Okay. And how do they talk to each
So they were talking to each other by, they had regional centers, and they were actually couriering, magnetic storage
floppy disk?
devices or
Right.
floppies or even CD-ROMs that time had come in the play. So, see, one of the advantages a lot of people do not understand that internet era, that we had a single networking protocol,
Hmm.
and that is TCP/IP, and which
Hmm.
is used either even in even on internet, and now the same protocol is used within the organizations.
Right.
Okay,
Right. Hmm.
so otherwise, before this, there used to be different protocols used for different things. Like ATMs were on different protocols.
Hmm.
The corporate handling of data was on different protocols. So you had single protocol which came in. I mean, not just sort of everybody could enjoy this World Wide Web, the information superhighway, but also networking technology wise, there was a unification,
Interesting.
which is extremely this one. So uh, see around this first few years of the millennium, most of the banks got core banking and their branches were networked. So,
Right.
which was the requirement for, what we do today. I mean, that was the stepping stone for, both, though ICICI and HDFC Bank, they started in internet banking right then. And of course, we used to say that when would we have mobile internet? And, in 10 years, we got all that, right?
Right.
So, the whole point is from a technology perspective, the banks have come a long way. I mean, despite all the resistance. In fact, few years back, I was consulting a cooperative credit society in Maharashtra, deep interiors of Maharashtra, and they told me that people who work on computers demand an additional increment. I said, why? Because isn't sort of using core banking the natural thing? No, we still use the paper logbooks,
Oh Lord.
and our union says that people who use computers have high probability of getting an electric shock.
Oh Lord. Okay. Wow.
So
So
this is
it still exists.
2015 16. No, then that year, of course, I was their advisor, so they went for a core banking solution.
Very nice. Very nice. So
Yeah, yeah.
you're saying it's a 360-degree shift.
Yeah, it is absolutely shift from no computers to now they can't do without computers, right?
Correct. Correct. So
So
from
I have seen bankers, sorry to cut
yeah,
you.
yeah.
I've seen bankers who have been from, who worked from, paper ledgers to paper ledgers plus computers because they didn't believe computers initially and to pure compute.
Wow. So tell me something on this one, Hemant. When it was not connected, you were talking about how everything was independently working.
Yeah,
Right? So wouldn't there be more reasons for a lot of data to go missing, for
sure.
reconciliations to have an issue?
Yeah, reconciliation was always an issue, and reconciliation is the biggest issue in, especially payments,
Right. Right.
right? So, no, I mean, you imagine a public sector bank which has branches in Agartala and headquarters in, Nariman Point.
Hmm.
To data to reach that, and to have a complete,
Wow.
profit and loss account and the balance sheet, right? Today, the banks can have up to the minute bank balance sheet,
Correct. Correct.
thanks to the core banking solution. But and in fact, the mutual funds today have a audited balance sheet every 3 hours after the stock markets close,
Correct. True.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
because they have to calculate NAVs, right? So
Yeah.
for which they require assets and liabilities, which is balance sheet. So the there was of course a delay, and the banks, in fact, I mean, till they didn't even till 1994, even the NPA concept was not on the, as it we talk today, right?
Hmm.
I mean, it was not on anvil, right? It was
Right.
sort of, banks always was thought about social institutions, etc., etc. But so with core banking also, their profit and loss became very apparent,
Hmm.
right? Whether the bank is, and how many loans are being paid back, what in their lingo is called as NPAs, non-performing
Right.
assets.
Right.
So it is useful, and also you can see that over uh, say from 1980s to uh, 1970s to now, the customer has been able to actually access the core of the core technology of a bank,
Correct.
right?
Very
Like
true.
once upon a time, say, American banks used for deposits and all that, they used to sort of key into a mainframe.
Hmm.
Okay, and suppose, let's take a thought. fictitious experiment. Suppose, a bank stores all the fixed deposit data. So that mainframe would remain in, at a center, and all branches would give their fixed deposit data, and they would print fixed deposit receipts, that your receipt will, your fixed deposit will mature on such and such date and all.
Right.
Now, when we got PCs, even the tailors got, tailors had PCs, and at the counter, the customer started interacting with a computer.
Correct.
Though not himself, but it was through this banking tailor, right?
Right.
And you had this is also the way banks have started using, is also some kind of evolution of technical architectures. So this is mainframe, then client server, and then to web based.
Got it.
So once internet banking, we are actually dealing with the core banking ourselves.
Right. We're talking to it.
Talking to it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so the customer is getting into sanctum sanctorum of banking technology slowly.
Right. Right. Feels
So
like
this is
magic.
this is this is
Yeah.
evolution of even the technology architecture.
Yeah, true, true. If I were to ask you, right, when you actually get me thinking that because some of these things there was a delay, there was potential for also some of these transactions, fraud transactions,
Sure.
or things to come up, right? Because things were
Absolutely.
not up to date.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So, I'll go back to what you mentioned, like computers were something that people detested at one point of time. Detest is a strong word, but I think they were not super happy about computers coming in. You said AI is something that people are thinking about it now, right? How do you think this would actually help data security? I'm just bringing both of these together. One was in the past, there was a lot of threats, data threat, or, fraudulent transactions. How is AI going to help now? What do you think?
Okay. So see, AI, AI can, if it can do some repetitive task,
Right.
right? So there's one issue about data privacy, data leakage, data security, whatever you call it. There's one problem with that, is that the banks do not have the wherewithal to handle data at that level.
Correct.
Which is, they might say that it's not their core competency. And in fact, not just data, but also information security itself and all that, right? I mean, where banks do not, I mean, banks try hard, but it's very difficult, right? For a organization, a bank which is, and especially a public sector bank or a cooperative bank, to hire people who
Mm-hmm.
are experts in handling data, who are experts in information security,
Mm.
because they simply do not have that kind of budgets, of HR budgets, to, you know,
Understood.
let us be frank. I mean, the kind of uh, pay package paid to security experts by international banks, private banks, or Visa and Master
Right.
cannot be matched by these guys,
True. True.
right? And so either they will have to outsource this work,
Mm.
and so basically they outsource it to vendors,
Right.
right? And then that is the place where they lose control.
Sure.
Right,
Understood.
I mean, so
Right.
this employee is not controlled by you, right? and
Right.
and there are issues which you can see in the and they are in public domain.
Right.
So see, one is that if AI can do repetitive jobs, okay,
Mm.
first of all, I would like any technology that is being used by a bank, and especially when you're handling somebody else's money,
Mm.
right? OPM, other people's money, right? So this technology has to work. I mean, it has to be a, quote unquote banker's choice, that
Mm.
technology works for at least 95% upwards.
Right.
You can't use the technology which is, just because somebody else, and every banker has a peer bank in his mind, okay, or a few peer banks.
Mm.
So since they have got, got that technology, this banker also says, the CIO of a particular,
Understood.
yeah, we need to, because the XYZ bank has, and they are our peers,
Right.
right? So this is the boy in toy shop
Mm, mm.
syndrome, right? I mean, because I also want to jump that bandwagon. Okay,
Correct.
so if you typically talk to a banker, he will say, "I want the AI, ML, blockchain." Nowadays, they say, "So we want super app," without realizing what it is. So I don't want to be too harsh because they are also, I mean, they have a different sort of mandate, and it's technology which has taken all these financial institutions by storm.
Correct.
So the point is that if AI does some work which prevents them from outsourcing that,
Mm.
okay, so you reduce the risk of data leakage happening through that outsourcing vendor,
Correct. Correct.
right?
But don't you think even if they were to not outsource and use AI, this is a question that I often have in my mind. Data leakage will happen, right, in some or the other format. There will be loopholes through technology that people find, and there will be a data leakage.
See,
Right.
the first of all, most of the data leakage and data chal- leakage challenges happen through the staff.
Okay.
Okay, whether it's done, whether it's done by a disgruntled employee, whether it's done by a villainous employee, or just negligence. I would,
Sure.
the last one I would give the maximum marks, maximum
Okay.
weightage.
Okay.
It's
Got it.
just, people are not being trained how to
Mm.
handle. See, we have now this DPDP, this
Mm.
data privacy bill. How
Right.
many people, and even how many people have handled financial data, health data, which is, the two important data sets which are very private in nature,
Correct. Correct.
correct? So
Mm.
also the, in our country, especially, privacy is not really, as a cultural concept, we are not understood it.
We don't treat it with respect. That's true.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, for example, and Rupa, you are a top hunch of a company. You know that how many employees come to you saying that, oh, you gave increment to her so much, why are you not giving to me? This
Sure.
doesn't happen in a Western country. The
Correct.
Western country has a concept of privacy drilled into them through, whatever, I think through culture, through whatever. I mean, the way they are brought up,
Correct. True.
right? And so I think, and this is I've been quoted here on this that first few percent of Indian population has very Western kinds of idea. Others want to share entire data so that they could be on some government scheme. Out
Interesting.
of out of 140 crores, about 5 to 7 crores people have very Western. I will be somebody might know my bank balance, somebody might do identity theft, etc. Others say that fine. I mean, it's I could get onto some scheme.
Wow. Okay, that is a very different thought process. I've never thought of it in that manner.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
interesting. So you think AI will solve quite a bit of the
AI will solve
challenge?
as long as you can get rid of the outsourcing, unnecessary outsourcing.
Got it. And you're saying there should be a need. We shouldn't be following competition or
No, no.
peers. If there's a need, then go for,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, technology. Very
And
well
and
put.
also if it is sort of you convince that it is solving your problem.
Hmm. Correct. Absolutely. Yeah. Got it. So, since we're talking about banks, also wanted to check with you on the CBDC, on making sure that the olden way of working merges with the newest technology. What do you see that you see that this actually will transfer? I know you did say there's been a 360-degree shift, but you're also saying in pockets people are still doing things like in the golden era. So do you see that the CBDC initiative will actually have metamorphosis effect? How long will it take?
Yeah. So see, first of all, anything digital requires 24-hour internet and power.
Okay.
So how many you yourself can see how many places.
Mm,
Suppose Rupa, you go to say Kaziranga, and
mm,
you want to pay for a jungle ride
right.
in CBDC, right? You need
Not gonna
internet
work.
there.
No. Yeah. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, even so, so this is my problem with even you know, giving debit cards to a lot of people.
Correct.
Where is
People
the
get-
where are the ATMs?
Correct. True.
Right? So that's one thing. That's an infrastructure issue.
Right.
Second problem with CBDC is, if you carefully read, and you know, in fact, I had a lawyer who was working with me as an associate. So when it was announced by the finance minister in the last, 2 years ago, in the budget speech,
Mm-hmm.
of course, I didn't like that only blockchain is to be used for that. I mean, I had strong reservations on that. But what she said was that CBDC will be treated uh, on par with currency notes,
Hmm.
right? So then there is, are we trying to solve any problem here? That question has to be there,
Correct.
right? So second thing is that there is a privacy. There is no privacy issue for as currencies there. I mean, I can pay a uh, grocery shop 500 rupees and he doesn't even know, right? Who's
Hmm. Hmm.
but once there's CBDC, there is, everything is, so from a privacy perspective, CBDC is not definitely a, sort of, I mean, everybody's privacy, we know today, sort of, for example, UPI, everybody's privacy is known to the central agency,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? Who
Right.
is paying whom? If I pay you by GPay,
Hmm.
okay, NPCI knows that, I paid you from this account and Rupa also has this account.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah. So, so that this is, some people actually say that maybe, so CBDC has a privacy, definitely a privacy issue. How that is solved, a lot of claims are there, but not yet
They're not there.
satisfactory.
Understood.
Second thing is, I also read one I mean, it's a worldwide phenomena. House of Lords committee, and in fact, that time the present Prime Minister of UK was heading this committee, and they have a tongue-in-cheek British humor report called CBDC Solution Search in Search of a Problem.
Okay, that's
So,
pretty cheeky.
yeah, so very very British. So, see, according to me, uh, this whole thing of governments world over, not just our government. We should not blame just our government. They don't know what to do with this cryptocurrency, rise of cryptocurrency.
Right. Right.
Okay, they don't simply know. It's a reaction to that. CBDC, according to me, is a reaction.
Sure. Sure. Got it.
Okay, and therefore, everybody doesn't know what to do with it, because if you carefully look at blockchain and different other types of bitcoins and other kinds of cryptocurrencies, they seem to be actually creating private money,
Hmm.
which is not liked by any central bank or any central government.
Correct.
Yeah, and in fact, Mint Conclave, I said this in one of the Mint Conclave's panel discussions, and they quoted it in a very big way that crypto paradigm is anti-government, anti-central authority, and anti-central bank.
Okay.
So, which
Right.
is true,
Right.
because if you read original paper of Satoshi, or even before that,
Hmm.
this is anarchy. You want to get rid of, you don't want central government, the central bank, you want to get rid of trust that we put in central banks.
Got it. Can I ask you something? Since you are so vocal about how you're thinking of these things, you're also a public interest director with NCDEX, which is a commodity exchange board, right?
Yeah,
So how do you tend to keep some of these thoughts separate? Because you're also part of a governing body,
yeah.
which is thinking of how commodity exchange needs to be done across the country. And then there is an independent view. How do you, in your
No,
head?
but see, this commodity exchange is a very different.
Absolutely. I'm just saying from
Uh,
a thought process.
yeah, I mean, people who write maximum
Hmm.
and about this are lawyers
Hmm.
or social scientists or journalists, right? Technologists are not speaking. That does not mean they don't have a view. So if
Correct.
you follow laws of science and technology, anybody can implement anything,
Got it. Understood. Understood.
right?
So before we wrap the show, I have one last question, Hemant, and it's such a delight to be talking to you anytime, right? This is our second conversation. I've enjoyed this thoroughly. Just wanted you to give your pearls of wisdom to technologists who are listening to this show. What would you like to tell them?
Yeah, I think as I told you that the last sentence in the answer to the previous question is that for if you know there would be sort of pressures from powers that be, but there is laws of science and technology which one needs to follow, and you've been trained and you've been appreciated for that,
Right.
right?
Right.
And your innovation comes from based on the knowledge of your technical knowledge.
Awesome. Awesome. And
Yeah.
what about young minds who are listening to this show? The ones who want to take science as a field, probably.
See, the whole point is that it's all about curiosity. I mean, there's no sort of nothing stops you from learning new things. In fact, many courses I do, like in last 20 years, I attended courses on data privacy,
Mm,
on how business organizations, maintain IT systems. There's
mm.
a certification called ITL. Of course, I didn't, or even the mathematics beneath blockchain.
Right.
Okay. Now I attend these courses along with 20 somethings
Wow.
who are all literally 35 years old younger than me,
Right.
right? I mean, and so there's no point, there's no sort of end to learning,
True. Absolutely.
right? So therefore, I think, and wherever it's all possible. And in fact, now with internet, it's easy to learn things.
Correct.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. But of course, there's, the personal touch is
Nice.
something what teaches you depths of it. So, in fact, this whole the way blockchain encryption happens and all that, one IIT professor taught us on a Sunday,
Mm.
9
Mm.
to 5.
Wow.
Yeah,
Nice.
and so there were others were very, very young. They were just sort of starting a career. So there is no, there's no stopping to learning, and there's sort of you should put your egos aside, your status, C-level executives and all that. But there are
Yeah.
things which, are, if you want to master them, then you need to learn it from, whatever source you can lay your hands on.
Wow. That was superbly inspiring. The last piece, I really thought that's absolutely right because learning should never stop, right? Till
Correct.
we are alive. Thank you so much for being on the show, Hemant. It was a pleasure having you. Lovely chatting with you as always. And thanks for doing the show.
Thanks, Rupa. Thank you.